Thank you very much. And I will call the Community Services and Public Safety Committee meeting for Monday, March 7th to order. I am the chair of this committee. Logan Cunningham is the vice chair, and the members are Gerald Dawson, York Glover, and Alice Howard. I'm happy to call this meeting to order. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all. Thank you very much. Item number 3, public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Item number 4, may I have a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Who was that?
This is York. This is York.
Okay, and the second?
Councilman Dawson.
Thank you very much. And is there any discussion on that? If not, we will approve the agenda without objection. Hearing no objections, the agenda is approved. Item number 5, approval of the minutes from October 4th of 2021. May I have a motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Motion was made by Mr. Glover and second by Ms. Howard. And any discussion on approval of the minutes? Hearing none, we will approve the minutes without objection, and hearing no objections, the minutes for October 4th, 2021 are approved. Item number 6 is citizen comments. Brock, do we have any citizen comments today?
No, sir, not for this meeting.
Not for this meeting?
No, sir. No,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Thank you. Item number 7 is an update and presentation on the Ronald McDonald Care Mobile Dental Unit. We have some visitors today who will be making presentations to us. I'm very grateful for them taking the time out of their schedules to avail us of the opportunity to hear from them about some items that I think will be interesting and timely. Audra, I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'd like to introduce Billy Sorjak. He is the Executive Director of the Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Coastal Empire, and he is here to provide a presentation on the house and the mobile care unit.
Welcome, Mr. Sorjak. Thank you for taking the time to come today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for the invitation and putting up with the next 20 minutes of hearing about a nonprofit. I was asked today to talk more big picture of what we do and how it affects Beaufort County. When we work hard for something we don't care about, it's called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. I wanted to lead with this slide because it's what we do for RMHC and in this community. I'll apologize. We understand there was a glitch. There was supposed to be a really amazing video to impress the heck out of you guys right now. But I want to kind of tell you what you would have seen. This story and that was up here is from a family from Beaufort, South Carolina. I noticed while I was sitting in the back of the room, a lot of the people here have bottles of drinks in front of them. You're probably looking at about a 16-ounce bottle on some of the sodas I see on the side. I want to share the story of baby Blake that would have been on this, and that what you would have heard from this family that spent 121 days from Beaufort with us at the Ronald McDonald House was that their baby Blake was 1 ounce less than that bottle of soda that you're holding. She was born at 15 ounces. And what Kevin would have shared with you is being that 176 steps from the front doors of Children's Hospital to be able to take care of their child was an amazing thing that they could spend, because at the time, we didn't know if baby Blake was going to make it. And many a time she had coded out at being at 15 ounces, they couldn't move her without bones breaking. She was so premature. And being that they were from this area, could you imagine trying to drive back and forth to be with your loved ones and take care of a very, very sick child for that many days? or finding a hotel that was going to accommodate you for 121 days. And so the mission of the House is to care for the most critical cases that the coastal empire shares. I say that because I think every time when we get into the camera bill, which we will get to shortly after the overview, is that we see Savannah, and rightfully so, there's probably concern that you're supporting programs outside of the area. But I'm here today to share the bigger picture of what our mission does for your county and for our families. Go ahead. You want to do that one?
I'm 17 years old. It's 4 years ago. And 646. Thank you. The day I found out about Emily's diagnosis, I went in for a routine ultrasound. The tech found a hole in her heart. I remember calling my husband crying, saying, "Her heart is broken, it's broken." On May 16th, Emily underwent her first open heart surgery. She spent 3.5 months recovering in the ICU. I never, in a million years, thought that I would ever have to utilize the Ronald McDonald house. And I will be the first to admit that I walked past a coin collector several times and didn't drop my change in. Not anymore. We were welcomed with open arms. It was an instant connection, an instant family. To me as a mom, it meant the world that I was able to stay so close to her. And she was never alone. Thank you from the Chapkowskis family. Gracias.
Thank you from the Davis family.
Thank you from the Vaughn family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Check out this verbo. Oh, man.
Not my video. No. I share this because it's what we do for this community and everything around us. If you are in Beaufort County, you're going to be sent to one or two places. You're either going to be sent to Charleston, South Carolina, or you're going to be sent to us in Savannah for a Trauma 1 case. And we wanted to kind of share that message. If we can go back to the slides. So the Ronald McDonald House first component, and when Audra visited, she was able to see firsthand. You're fine. So to kind of give you the history, it started in 1974, and it would sound like a joke if I shared it with you. It started with a hospital system, it started with a football team in the NFL, and it started with a restaurant guy, and of course that was Ray Kroc. In 1974, the first house was built, and in 1987, if we leap forward, the house was built here in Savannah, which was the 100th house. The concept is very strong, and you can skip through, please. The concept was very strong. It was just about being able to take care of the most critical cases that our area serves. So for us being Coastal Empire, we are serving both southern Georgia and the low country of South Carolina. There are 3 core programs, all which are effective in Beaufort County. There's the house, our family room program, and of course the camera bill program. So for the Ronald McDonald House, it is the most critical families that are in the area that we will serve. Slide. To give you an idea of what we do on a daily basis, we will be 35 years old this July 11th. In 2021, we provided 4,500 family night stays, of which 1,450 of those family night stays were from South Carolina. It costs us between $100 to $150 a night to house a family. We ask for a contribution of $10 a night for the families, just so they understand that it's more of a privilege, not a right. If you can't pay that $10, obviously it doesn't change anything. If we would have in 2021 received $10 for those 4,500 nights, we would have got $45,000. Instead, we got just under $2,000 because that's who the families are putting monies and resources elsewhere. Our average length of stay is 16 days, but for premature babies, it goes to 2, 3, 4 months. Our longest stay is still going on, already at 254 days, and our longest stay from South Carolina was 163 days to date. We are turning away 16 families a day, and it's our hope to grow in the next couple of years while we serve NICU, PICU, ISN oncology, PSU, health facilities, and the I groups. Premature babies are our number one priority. Oncology ends up being number 2 of who we're serving, and trauma and accidents from anything from a drowning out in Hilton Head or Tybee to a car accident on 95 or I-16. Right, the second component is our family rooms, which are both located at St. Joseph Candler and at Memorial. They started in 2006, go back please, to 2013 on the Memorial Room. Before COVID hit in 2019, 3,400 additional families, not people, were served with our family room program, of which in 2019, 1,156 families came from South Carolina. This is for anybody with a child in the hospital. Of course, when COVID came, the world changed as we all know it. And when the world changed, so did some of our dynamics. So the family rooms were shut down and the camera build program was put on hold because of safety protocols. And there were some concerns there, but I wanted to share with the council that the house remained open without ever shutting. We did our day jobs. We did that through threats and not knowing what COVID-19 was when it started on March 16th of 2020. We remained open. There are 5 houses in Georgia for the Ronald McDonald House. Augusta, Georgia went down to 1 or 2 rooms. Columbus and Macon had to shut their doors with the Columbus house losing a staff member to COVID. And Atlanta went down to 25%. We were able to maintain 85% occupancy all through COVID in 2020. And we would have been at 100, but one of our families received a phone call that their child had coded, and they went running out of their room, leaving the faucet on, and of course flooded room 11, which we could not get clean. We could get cleaned up with our great friends at Beaufort, but we couldn't get construction to come back in to fix it, or we would have been able to maintain at 100% capacity. But I want to talk to you, while the questions will always come, is why are we funding this program in Savannah for the camera bill program? Our Ronald McDonald House Camera Mobile program is a dental unit that has been here for going on 20 years in the Beaufort County area. It was the first ever camera bill in the RMHC system. In 2019, before COVID hit us, our last full year of working with students, 2,700 children were seen by the camera bill unit, seeing a dentist for the first time, both in treatment, both in education, and finding those trauma 1 cases. To give you an idea, there are only 42 camera programs worldwide, of which 35 are in the US. When I started 18 years ago, there were 50. So the program is dwindling because the cost is very difficult and hard to run at times. But it's the need of the particular area that we're serving, ours being dental, of course. We work with Jasper Beaufort Comprehensive Health, and they are they run the program for us.
Which I had to take over because the computer's messing up. Which slide are you on?
I don't know anymore. I'm watching the slides go. I think this is a test. We're going to mess with the guy from Savannah. No, just kidding. Just go to the next one from there. That'd be great. Thank you so much. Just to give you an idea, the scope of services that the camera bill provides is on the screen. I won't read them all out because I know you're very brilliant and can read that yourselves. But we are trying to maintain that we are going directly to the school systems. We know that transportation is difficult for the families. When the program started back so many years ago, it originally was on reduced lunches, then it exceeded to free and reduced lunches. And over the last several years, we have gone to the schools and said anybody who doesn't have dental insurance should be who we're trying to see. trying to look back here, you're right here. The camera bill has a registered dental hygienist and also a supervising dentist. And there is a driver data entry and submission person that drives the truck, repairs the truck, and is also doing a lot of the data entry. The camera bill goes directly to the schools so that we can see the students and take care of them where they need it. When we do find the trauma 1 cases, we try to get them to local dentists to continue the process. We can't do that on the bus. This is what it used to look like, but if you're following the news over the last couple of years, Ronald has retired, so we have removed him from the bus. And now we've gone with the little partridge family theme with the thing. But this is where it is showing up, so that the students feel comfortable when they walk in, because I don't know about any of you here, I don't want to go to a dentist. And I surely don't think a child wants to go in and have someone that they don't know trying to scrape away at their mouth when they don't understand what's going on. But what we find is that many of the students that we're seeing have the need for it. And we can do the preventative work, we can do the treatments and the fluorides, and we can hopefully educate. And the hope is to grow this program. All I've got left, and you can just kind of click through, is just some pictures of the unit for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to see it. But it's been our privilege and honor to be partnered in Beaufort County and only here. So when you look at the efforts that the Ronald McDonald House Charities are doing for the community, it starts with the camera bill as number 1. And understand that only Beaufort County is receiving those services. When it comes to the house and the family rooms, we are going to serve whoever needs it the most. And those numbers will change year to year depending on where the most severe cases are. But over the last 3 to 4 years, on average, we have served this community with the house at over 35%, and the same thing with the camera bill. With the family rooms. I thought I would leave you with a few fun facts. We do have other programs, some of which we have had some success with Beaufort, with our young professional groups, our Yellow Shoe and Valentines. And I thought I'd leave you with one last fun fact. It takes 1,128 pop tabs to make a pound. Y'all collect them for us, whether it's here in Beaufort or whether it's in Georgia. It takes 1,128 pop tabs to make that pound to get us 45 cents. But to share with you, in the last couple of years, we have received almost $6,000 in pop tabs from partnerships with communities like Beaufort, which means that almost 14 million pop tabs were donated and carried to the Ronald McDonald House last year. So I thought I'd leave you with that one fun fact. But with that, I thank you for your time. And does the committee or board have any questions for the Ronald McDonald House?
Mr. Sorjak, I have a quick question. Larry McEllen here. I'm not in the room. What does it cost you annually to run the care mobile throughout the area that you provide service to?
We are at about a $230,000 budget.
And when you see a child, do you see them once, or do they return for follow-up visits?
That's dependent on the severity of what they find from the bus. For us, it's seeing them while we're at that school. The standard treatments are done there on property. When we try, and I say we, it's Beaufort Comprehensive Health does those scheduling. So they do that with beyond the bus with their programs and with local dentists.
Okay, I know that we provide funding to you and have for some time. And without asking you the source or total funding that you get from all sources, are you able to make that budget of $230,000 annually from all the sources you have?
Yeah, for all 19 years, we've never missed that budget, sir.
Okay, congratulations on that. And thank you very much for the good work you do. I'm going to ask the people in the room there and online if they have any further questions for you about the program that you're running. Are there any further questions for Mr. Sorjak?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you for all the work you do, and with the Ronald McDonald House, particularly on the dental side, because I just recently discovered that having a bad mouth could actually lead to heart trouble.
That is true.
And
That is very true. And then for the kids, what we've always found over the years, and what the program does a lot, and I think it's lost, is that a lot of times families will wait, and you know how it is when you have a bad tooth or pain, correct? And they don't have that insurance, so they're not going, or they don't have the transportation to get to, and ultimately it will lead to an emergency room visit. So now we're tying up emergency room visits on that. And then for the child, looking at it strictly from their perspective, I can't even think, let alone concentrate on schoolwork if I had a pain in my tooth. And I think the program helps alleviate a lot of that. We hope to do more in the years to come. We hope to grow the program. But yes, take care of your teeth and
education, I mean, is the bottom line to all of that, and that's what you do as well.
It is. Thank you.
Mr. Sorjak, I think your timing in coming here today was perfect. We are moving slowly and inexorably into our budget cycle for the new fiscal year. And I think it's safe to say that your presentation here will make a difference in how people understand the kind of service you provide, how important it is, and how important it is for you to get that $230,000 every year to keep this program operating. So thank you very much for coming. We do appreciate
thank you for your time, and I do appreciate it. And if anybody from your council or the community ever wants to come and visit the program, please reach out to us. We would love to have you and kind of show you where all those monies are going.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Audra. Are you going to handle the next item?
Yes, sir, but I wanted to thank Billy. I thought it was important to have him come today to explain what services the Ronald McDonald House provides to citizens in Beaufort County. The dental unit does not leave the state of South Carolina. So I know that was some confusion since it's out of Georgia, you know, the services that they do provide to the citizens of Beaufort County. I thought that was important.
Thank you. Item number 8 is to consider recommending approval of a resolution to establish Beaufort County's community development priority list.
Yes, sir. This item, we are seeking approval of a resolution to establish Beaufort County's community development priority list. The Beaufort County Community Development Priority List is updated annually and is provided to the Low Country Council of Government as a prerequisite for community development block grant program applications.
Are there any items in that resolution you think need to be specifically mentioned to give people an idea of what it is they'll be recommending today?
No, sir. It's a very broad list. And I will say that a lot of the items on the list will be from ARPA funding, but we've kind of provide this list for potential grants that we might be applying for.
Sarah, could you go back to the first page? Thanks. So I see that a lot of it has to do with public facilities, transportation, infrastructure, housing programs. Second page, Sarah. Streetscapes, improvements in public recreation facilities, and affordable options to underserved areas with regard to internet service.
Yes, sir, and that would be broadband.
Yeah, how much money are we talking about here? Have an idea?
Sir, they are grants that we would be applying for.
Yep.
Brittany, if she would like, she can explain. I do believe they are match funds, but
Okay.
she can briefly explain the amount.
Thank you. Thanks, Brittany. Glad to see you. Thank you very much for coming.
Not a problem. For fiscal year 2022, the South Carolina Department of Commerce has about $20 million to spread through the CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program. This is statewide. Usually the grant caps in themselves are relatively small, about $500,000. The largest one that I know of for the current fiscal year was a neighborhood revitalization program, and that specifically had things to do with infrastructure improvements in low to moderate income areas. So they are relatively small amounts compared to a big project, but this is what we'd use for match funding for certain programs that we have established now, and this would match those programs.
Will you be available at the full council meeting, assuming this goes forward, to elaborate some more with regard to getting the information that full council will need to make an informed decision on this matter?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask one quick question?
Sure, go right ahead, York.
Item number 4, the housing program, and you talk about failing septic tanks. How does that work in the rural community?
So if it's a project that's programmed within our comprehensive plan, we can look at using this as a matching source for our internal funds in order to initiate the project to move forward. The most recent one that we've done for drainage and sewer is in the Bon Air community, and that was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, but that brought in sewer.
It brought in.
It brought in sewer.
Yeah, but if in the rural areas where you don't have access to sewer, how would that?
I can check with our LCOG who helps us facilitate through these projects and making sure that when we're applying for those grants, that certain checkbox are completed.
Right.
And we can check into that for you.
Appreciate that.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Brittany, these are matching funds that we'll be requesting?
For the most part, for instance, we've got 2 grants right now. One is for the Stewart Point Road Pathway Project. That's going to match our 1-cent sales tax program funding in order to execute that project. Another one is the Detour Road Pathway Project in the amount of $200,000, and that is matching some TAG funding.
Okay. Okay, I think that there may be some questions of full council with regard to exactly what those matching funds are, so I'm sure you'll be prepared to answer anything that goes further in depth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any further questions from anyone online or in the room? Okay, may I have a motion to recommend approval of a resolution to establish Beaufort County's community development priority list and move it forward to full council for consideration?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Hearing no discussion, I will move this forward without objection. Are there any objections? Hearing none, this matter will move forward to full council from the Community Services Committee, recommending approval of this resolution for our county's community service development priority list. Thank you very much. Item number 9 is recommend approval of a first reading of an ordinance to approve the text amendments to Chapter 14, Article 2, the Animal Control Ordinances. Colonel Foote, are you in the room? No? Sir. Who is?
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon. What do you have?
I'm sorry.
I said, what do you have for us?
This afternoon, we have some text amendments to our animal control ordinances. One of the things I wanted to mention up front about our ordinances, as we all know, and for the viewing audience, ordinances are very particular to communities. They're only enforced within our own community, and that's why they're very important, because lots of times we're tackling issues that are particular to our own community. One of the other things I'd like to also recognize is that with our animal control ordinances, unlike a lot of the other county ordinances that are only enforced within the unincorporated area of Beaufort County, our animal control ordinances are also enforced within all the municipalities within Beaufort County. We have all the municipalities have signed on to adopt our animal control ordinances so that we're able to enforce them within the municipalities. And we have IGAs and MOUs in place with each one of the municipalities. So after we go through these text amendments, we will be going back to the individual municipalities and asking them to adopt these text amendments along with the rest of our ordinances once again, so we can enforce them.
I see, Sarah, would you put that slide back up, please? I see that there's a reference to Sarah.
Yeah, I'm coming.
I see there's a reference to changing text amendments, but there's really no information there, Phil, about what the changes are. Where will that be?
And there should be backup where you'll see all the ordinances along with what is being strictened from the ordinance, along with what we're asking the update to that ordinance will be.
Are any of those items something you can tell us about here today that are important for us to consider before moving this to full council?
Yes, sir. I'm going to turn this over to our Deputy County Attorney, Brittany Ward, who has done most of the work, along with our Director of Animal Services, Tula Trice, who's done all the work on trying to put these text amendments together. So I'm going to allow them to take over from here.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
And for council, I believe there was a mix-up when the agenda was actually published. So you will find the full ordinance and all of the stricken and added language above the ordinance as it appears on the agenda. So there should be about, it starts on page 39. And you can go through, but pursuant to your request, I absolutely can address some of the main changes in the ordinance. I do want to note that Tulu and I have actually been working on this for about a year now. I've also spoken to some of the magistrates after presenting cases, and we've had long discussions as far as what would better the communities as well as better the courts when having to make determinations. Nobody likes having their dog deemed a dangerous dog. Nobody wants to have any ownership issues, so on and so forth. So we've really been working on different multiple facets, trying to narrow down what changes would be beneficial to everybody. So in saying that, please stop me with any questions. I think the first major change that we are implementing is a breed determination. It's come to our attention that there was some changes needed whereby the courts really needed to be the final determining factor when it comes to an animal being deemed a pit bull pursuant to our ordinances. Previously, the ordinance does not require a court determination on what type of dog they are. The reason that's important is because pursuant to our ordinance, if a dog is deemed a pit bull breed, that dog is required to be spayed or neutered. So if a animal is found and officers deem the dog a pit bull pursuant to our ordinance, there have been issues whereby the owner does not want the dog to be spayed or neutered. So this is putting it at the hands of the courts to determine the breed, and we've also implemented enforcing factors whereby an individual would be mandated by the court to have the dog spayed or neutered. So
it becomes a judicial decision as to the breed?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
That also, later on in the ordinance, would also allow us to have a pickup order in order to enforce the judge's order, which was the issue there. The next major point is I reviewed at length our dangerous dog determination ordinance. Previously, if an officer went out to a situation, we'll just call it a bite case, individual was injured by a dog, we, being staff, the officers, could deem a dangerous dog. At which point, pursuant to our current ordinance, that individual is immediately required to have certain elements fulfilled, meaning the dog has to be muzzled at all times. The dog has to be penned in a four-sided kennel if out. Additionally, it also puts the burden of them having an insurance policy on the dog. All that being said, as currently drafted, our ordinance is requiring that before that individual goes to court. I'm sorry, I missed what you said right there. All of those requirements are mandated prior to being heard at court. So I am offering an amendment to it. I'm not removing those requirements. I'm simply changing when they are actually implemented. So they would be implemented after a court date.
So that's another judicial decision, whether it's a dangerous dog and not a staff member's decision?
At this time, it is already a judicial decision whether a dog is actually deemed dangerous.
Right.
The requirements are, in our current ordinance, the requirements are made prior to the judicial decision.
So I am asking to move those so they are only implemented after a judge hears the case.
That makes sense. Okay.
The next one is we've had several cases whereby, as we all know, you have neighbors that sometimes have issues with other neighbors' dogs, plainly put. So we have created a nuisance pet to be a lesser included charge of a dangerous animal. This is because multiple cases come up whereby dogs can have instances where it could be a dog-on-dog attack or fight. There can be also instances whereby the requirement of a dangerous dog to have not been or have no provocation, meaning that nobody provoked the dog to bite them, could be a missing element. So in saying that, we want to avoid a dog not being completely dismissed if an occurrence happens, but rather the ability to say that this is a nuisance pet, that it does have a potential to injure, that it does have a potential to cause damage to property, but at this time, it hasn't reached a level of a dangerous animal.
Is that another judicial decision?
It would.
So the provocation hasn't been changed. The provocation still is an element for a dangerous dog. What about for a nuisance dog?
A nuisance dog, there would not be provocation. So a nuisance dog, like I said, could be anything from, unfortunately, I hate to use this example, but kids in a neighborhood. They're running their bikes everywhere and there's a dog outside that they kind of like to, bother. Well, the dog might have had provocation from that, but you don't know. But let's put everybody on notice and put it out there that this dog needs to be contained. The nuisance element would require them to keep the dog either tethered or on a leash at all times. So the dog is not allowed out on their property, regardless if it's their property or somewhere else, without being leashed. It does not have a requirement of being muzzled.
What about the insurance? Does that come with a nuisance dog or just a dangerous dog?
It does not, only with a dangerous dog.
Got it. Okay.
The next is we also have added in under animal abuse. We are adding in our animal cruelty, excuse me. We are proposing to add in the verbiage of animal neglect. To some, this might seem very odd to be asking for a lesser charge when it comes to animal cruelty, but there's a large spectrum of cases that come before us, and it is hard at times to bring cases to court and have judges declare somebody guilty of animal cruelty when at times people just need to learn how to take care of their pets. And it's not a purposeful cruelty, but it is clear that they are unaware, I guess you would say, of how to take care of their animal.
What are the penalties for animal neglect?
It is going to be a lesser included charge, but it also allows us, because currently how animal cruelty ordinance is written, it mandates that we actually write a citation, which is a misdemeanor. But within the animal neglect, it allows our officers to write administrative tickets, which do have a fee associated with them. So it would be working with those individuals, which Tallulah and her team do anyways, to try and teach these individuals how to take care of their dogs appropriately or their animals appropriately.
Do animal neglect go to judicial hearing?
They have the opportunity to go if it reaches that point. But in speaking with Tallulah, I think on multiple occasions, if we have an individual who has received 3 animal neglect administrative tickets, I can only assume that we're now reaching a level that potentially would be an animal cruelty case as well.
So without going to court, there's still a fine has to be paid?
That is correct.
Okay.
And the fines are described in increments in our administrative citation section.
Okay.
One section, which I will actually point to Tallulah to describe further the need for it, we are adding in an abandonment during a named storm, which if you want, you can discuss that and the need for it. But it does state that abandonment is an unlawful act, which would be a misdemeanor. If at any time an animal is found at a home without proper care or without an individual at the home during a named storm. This became a huge issue for Tallulah and her team when hurricanes hit. Although.
Is that a misdemeanor level as well?
Yes.
Is that a misdemeanor level?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can I ask a
How do you-
question? Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, sure.
During a named storm, does that include livestock too?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Does it include livestock too? If they're abandoned by owners such as cattle and horses?
You can comment on the
Goats?
applicability to this information.
The joy of chickens. The problem is people now, as you know, there are a lot of chickens. They are confined. Brittany and I were talking about a word which it was refrain from movement. And I'm not saying release all your chickens so we have to chase them, but we've got to have something in place. That they've got to have. I mean, we've got outlets in Aiken that we can help with, but they've got to ask now. They can't wait till the storm. The problem is we do have to go save chickens that are in coops if they're in a floodplain. We do have to go rescue horses who are confined in barns. So again, we were talking about it. How do we address this? Again, people can call me right now and make a plan. You just can't call me the day of the storm or the week of the storm.
Okay.
So yes, it does apply to it, but I wanted you to
Chickens
hear
and
the
horses
reasons
and
to
goats.
why
Okay.
tractors
Is it-
apply.
Is this all new language being introduced here, Brittany?
The abandonment during a named storm is.
Okay.
Abandonment was already a section of our code. We wanted to specify its application during a named storm.
Okay.
Again, that was.
Anything further? Anything further?
I do not believe so. As far as there were several items in here that we amended, as you know, ands and ors that needed to be changed out that were misused previously. We've also given in several places throughout the ability for the county administrator to make decisions or his designee. Previously, county council was the individual that was supposed to make these decisions. So.
Anyone have any questions for Tallulah or Colonel Foote or for Brittany?
Just real quick, I'm going to go back to Alice's question. So when you read that, it says any animal is confined in a fence. So in a named storm, if you had horses, cattle, pig, or in a fence, the way that ordinance reads is if you abandon them, which when you leave and leave them behind, that you could get a misdemeanor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Say that again?
The way this ordinance reads, said no animal shall remain in a home, building, fence, cage, coop, or crate. So it does say fence, or any other structure during a named storm. So if you have any of those animals, and even if they're fenced and they're outside, that you could get a misdemeanor if you leave and evacuate and leave them behind.
Right.
So what is the Tallulah, what's the suggestion here to prevent that from happening with these particularly large animals?
Well, one thing we're trying to do, thanks to IT, is we have a horse app and we're going to do a cattle app. And I'd like to see all animals registered so we can go educate them. Because if they leave them, we're going to have to go get them. So I'd rather than make plans now. We have so many outlets, again, in Aiken and other counties. And so it's our job to educate. And that's something that, again, hopefully by the time we get this ordinance through, we will, be able to get the word out that they need to do this. We're going to have to get them regardless.
Sure. But the best thing to do is what you have in this ordinance, which is to let them run free. If they're abandoned, but the gates are open, they're not in the barn, animals will.
They come back. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not telling people what to do, but I'm just saying.
Do what's right for them.
Yeah,
they'll find a place, they'll find a high ground, and et cetera, et cetera. All you have to do as a farmer is to go back and round them up.
Correct.
That's the challenge. But,
Yes. And that, again, I'm not telling people what to do, but it's when they're refrained from movement, we are going to have to go out. And again, I just think, people, if they make the decision to have, goats, chickens, cows, they need to have a plan. So we just don't want them refraining from.
And I guess my only question is I completely understand whenever it talks about being inside of a structure or inside of but it says fence, so I'm thinking of a large pasture that's fenced in, so you'd have to open your gate to avoid getting a misdemeanor to your fenced-in area. That's if there's a storm.
You would not believe the areas which that flood. And again, then we are going to have to go like we did on Hilton Head during Matthew. We had to go rescue 4 horses from flooding in a fenced-in area. It takes a lot of resources. And that's why we're trying to
them because they couldn't leave the area that was being flooded. Is that it?
Correct, because they're confined for movement. They're stuck in an area and they can't get out.
Got it.
So that's it. But one thing I do want to say, I was at a conference last week in Myrtle Beach, and everyone is proud of what y'all have done with the ordinances. They're following us. State is looking at, how Brittany's been wording things. I've been on the phone with everybody, so it's pretty, it's pretty awesome that they're taking Beaufort County as an example. So I just wanted to commend Brittany and the attorneys locally, here that have done a wonderful job with the ordinances.
Well, if this ordinance is forwarded to council, I think that you'll be available, of course, at the full council meeting. I think it's important for everyone to hear exactly who it is you spoke to and how many different organizations or community members or animal owners were consulted on this with regard to the language that you're using here, so that everyone can understand that it wasn't just county government imposing restrictions on people, but rather dealing with people who own these animals who suggested that these things take place. I'm assuming that's exactly what happened, even though you haven't stated it yet. How far off am I with that?
No, I will say, like I stated before, Tallulah and I have been working on this for over a year. I told her when she first asked for one small change that this ordinance is used by all the municipalities. I said, let's not look at it in one section, but let's look at the entire picture. Let's wait some time, look at the cases that we've had before ourselves, talk to the judges, talk to other attorneys, and let's really do the amendments that are needed in order to benefit people and to work with Tallulah and her team and give them the tools that are needed to work with individuals, such as that animal cruelty and animal neglect. I think that gives her team an avenue to actually teach people and work with people rather than just citing them with an animal cruelty and then walking away. So we were really, truly looking at how do we benefit everybody involved.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay, before we wrap this up, Tallulah, it's always great to see you. You've been absent because of pandemic concerns, I'm sure. It's nice to know you're still there doing the great job you do in animal control, and we all appreciate your energy and your enthusiasm, and it's nice to see you at this meeting. Thanks for coming over. Thank you, Phil.
Yes, sir.
The next items, 10, 11, 12, and 13 deal with appointments and reappointments. Number 10, I'm going to take them all at once unless someone wants to take one out. Number 10 is the reappointment of Rick Crobe to the Beaufort. Oh, let me back up. May I have a motion to send this ordinance over to council for approval at a first reading? May I have a motion for this?
I'll make the motion. Go ahead, Councilman Dawson. I'll second.
So move.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Gerald. Okay. Any discussion? No, hearing no discussion. This will be approved without objection. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, this matter is approved and will be forwarded to full council for its consideration. 10, 11, 12, and 13 are appointments and reappointments. Number 11 is the appointment of Rick Crobe to the Beaufort County Bluffton Fire District Board for a second term with an expiration date of 2026. Number 11, the appointment of Alan Arsenault to the Beaufort County Parks and Rec Board for the partial term with an expiration date of 2025. Number 12 is the reappointment of Joseph Paolo to the Beaufort County Bluffton Fire District Board for the next term with an expiration date of 2026. And number 13, the recommend appointment of Dana Marsh to the Bluffton Township Fire District for a first term, partial term with an expiration date of 2025. May I have a motion to move those forward to the council for their consideration?
So moved, Chair. Larry.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Who was that?
Logan.
Thank you, Logan. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we'll move this along without objection. Are there any objections to moving this to full council for their consideration? Items 10, 11, 12, and 13. Hearing no objections, item 10, 11, 12, and 13 will be forwarded to full council for their consideration on these appointments and reappointments. Item 14, we have reached the end of this agenda. Are there any other matters to be considered here today? Hearing none, the Community Services and Public Safety Committee meeting for today is hereby adjourned. Thank you all for your participation.
Ms. Brock, how long? 5 minutes until the natural resources start. Okay. All business, so. I thought this is gonna be more space. Let me ask.